topic is on the little Albert experiment. To understand the study, we must first understand what is classical conditioning. Classical conditioning is a learning process that takes place when a response occurs due to an unrelated stimulus. An example of this is the study of Pavlov's dogs. In 1890, a Russian psychologist named Ivan Pavlov researched the dog's saliva response when dogs are fed. He concluded that when dogs are exposed to food in front of them, they begin to salivate. He took this one step further. He began ringing a bell to signal when it was time to eat. Eventually, when the bell would ring, the dogs would begin to salivate. The dogs were conditioned that the bell meant food. Soon, the dogs would salivate as the bell began to ring. The dogs would respond to the unrelated stimulus due to classical conditioning. So now that we have an understanding of what classical conditioning is, let's look at another example study. This example is called the little Albert experiment. So let's meet little baby Albert. Albert was a 9-month-old infant from a hospital. Psychologist John B. Watson used little Albert to study his theory of classical conditioning. How did Watson test this theory of classical conditioning? Little Albert was exposed to a white rat, a rabbit, a dog, a monkey, and cotton and wool, and other stimuli. So the conclusion was little Albert showed no fear to any of these signs. This was the control variable. Step 2, applying the conditioning. This time, Watson exposed little Albert to a white rat. When little Albert tried to touch the rat, Watson made a loud sound behind Albert's back by striking a steel bar with a hammer. He did this each time little Albert touched the white rat. Little Albert responded in fear. He began crying. This time when he was exposed to the white rat, little Albert avoided the white rat. Conclusion: little Albert generalized furry and fuzzy animals with a loud noise and feared them. Because of this experiment, little Albert feared many furry and fuzzy animals. Now, for many of y'all out there watching, I just want to make a disclaimer. This experiment is not okay today because it is not ethical. Do not try this at home with your children. So, what happened to little Albert? When Albert turned 1 year old at the end of the experiment, he reportedly left the hospital shortly after. Watson discussed undoing Albert's conditioned fears, but had no time to do so. According to some textbooks, Albert's mother worked in the same building as Watson and did not know these tests were taking place. However, when she found out these tests were being conducted, she became furious and left with little Albert and did not let anyone know where they went. However, many, including myself, find this hard to believe, especially since there are pictures of the experiment that show a woman holding little Albert. But nobody knows for sure. In conclusion, people's brains can be conditioned to perform or act in a certain way due to negative or positive stimuli. The end.